Like and subscribe right now, or this spider is gonna crawl on your face while you're sleeping.
Top 10 most overlooked unsolved mysteries in history. Tourists travel to famous landmarks and spooky destinations every year, hoping to find deeper insight into mysterious structures and what happened within the perimeter thousands of years ago. But sometimes, strange things happen to ordinary people in their own town. Finding out exactly what happened and why it happened remains of interest to millions around the world, especially when it seems that no logical explanation can be found. However, in the quest to find the answers, some mysteries have been forgotten over time and quite often overlooked. So here we are. We decided to bring you a list of 10 overlooked unsolved mysteries from around the globe. So stick around for this one, as we'll be saving the most epic ones for the end. Let's go. Number 10. Salzburg Cube. In 1885, Riedel, an employee at an Austrian foundry, discovered the mysterious Salzburg Cube, also known as the Wolf's Egg Iron. He cracked open a seam of coal to find a strange-looking iron cube inside it. It had many cracks and little holes in it, as well as a strange color and a deep fissure down the middle. Riedel had never seen anything like it before, so after showing it to his boss, they turned it over to the Heitmeshaus Museum. The next year, a professor at the museum named Adolf Gerlt studied the cube and determined it to be part of a meteorite. A further study by the National History Museum in Vienna proved that it was not in fact a meteorite, but artificially manufactured from an unknown source. It is thought that the coal that produced the Salzburg Cube was at least 60 million years old. Adding to the mystery of the cube is how some people actually believe it has vanished. The reasons for this range from it being part of a shadowy conspiracy to simply being debunked as a worthless piece of rock and tossed away as such. This, of course, ignores the fact that the cube does in fact exist and can be found safely on display in its usual home, the Heitmeshaus Museum in Vienna. However, the purpose of which this cube came to exist has not been found.
Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that will take just 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. You just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell and you get 25 years of amazing luck. Try it. It really works.
Number 9. Screaming Mummy. Discovered in 1886, a mummy with an agonizing expression on his face has long since been the object of speculation. The mummy has all of its organs intact, which is not customary with mummification. Many interesting theories have arisen, though none have been proven right or wrong. Bob Breyer, a University of Long Island archaeologist, speculated that two parties were responsible for the mummy's agonized expression. One was the murderer, while the other ensured full preservation of the body, possibly due to a personal relationship with the victim. Other researchers and archaeologists have come up with theories ranging from cold-blooded murder to poisoning to being buried alive. A 2008 National Geographic documentary special investigated the possibility that the mummy could be Prince Pentuer, son of Pharaoh Ramses III, who was suspected of planning his father's murder. Ancient documents from the 12th century claim one of Pharaoh Ramses III's wives was tried for conspiring to kill him, due to her desire for Pentuer to take over the throne. It is thought that when the plan was discovered, she poisoned Pentuer as punishment and rolled him up in sheepskin after being mummified. If that was the case, the scream could have been due to the pain of the ingested poison. However, only CT scan had been done on the screaming mummy. It remains pure speculation whether the mummy was in fact Prince Pentuer. Less sensational theories suggest that the mummy's jaw is open simply because his head had most likely rolled back after death occurred. But even that bit of realism is as good a guess as anybody else's. Number 8. Overton Bridge. The Overton Bridge is an arch bridge located near Milton, Dumbarton, Scotland, which was built in 1859. It has become famous for the number of unexplained instances in which dogs have, apparently, committed suicide by leaping off it. The incidents were first recorded around the 1950s or the 1960s, when it was noticed that dogs, usually the long-nosed variety like collies, would suddenly and unexpectedly leap off the bridge and fall 50 feet to their deaths. In some cases, however, the dogs would survive, recuperate, and then leap off the bridge again. What makes this tragic mystery even more mysterious is that many of the dogs that jumped from Overton Bridge jumped from the same side and from almost the same spot, between the final two parapets on the right side of the bridge. Some believe that the bridge is haunted. In 1994, a man threw his infant son off the bridge, claiming that it was the Antichrist. Later, the man attempted suicide there as well. Was Overton Bridge responsible for this tragic event? Some believe that Overton Bridge is a thin place, where the barrier between the world of the living and the world of the dead meet, and sometimes cross over, but nobody knows for sure. Number 7. Ever-burning lamps. Lamps that kept on burning without using any fuel were discovered all over the world during the Middle Ages. These lamps were sealed into tombs, supposedly to ensure the deceased had light to guide them on their way to the afterlife. Some of these tombs were opened years later, and the lamps were still burning. Superstitious types became terrified of this phenomenon, destroying any ever-burning lamp they came across. People accused pagan priests of trickery. Others simply refused to believe that a lamp could burn for an indefinite period of time. The vast majority claimed that the devil was to blame. Speculation was also rife that Hebrew communities had discovered and preserved what today is known as electricity. According to the legend, a French rabbi named Jekyll possessed a lamp that could light up by itself with no fuel or wick. Jekyll, according to the tale, invented a special button that would discharge an electric current to his metal doorknob knocker. If someone touched the door knocker at the same time the rabbi touched the button, the person would receive a shock and double over. Even with electricity being a common thing nowadays, all who have tried to replicate the ever-burning lamps have failed. Therefore, the question remains, how were these lamps able to keep burning for hundreds of years without fuel? Number 6. Hidden shoes in an Egyptian temple. Archaeologists discovered an unusual treasure during an expedition in Egypt in 2004. In a jar, placed in the middle of 2 other jars and set inside a small open space between 2 mud brick walls, were 7 shoes. 2 of the pairs were children's shoes, and the remaining shoes belonged to an adult that possibly had a limp. Archaeologist Angelo Sassina stated that the shoe jar had been hidden deliberately more than 2,000 years ago. Andre Veldemeier, an expert in ancient footwear, has called the discovery of the shoes extraordinary because of the excellent condition they were found in. He analyzed the shoes and theorized that they were quite expensive and meant for status. He added that there's mystery surrounding the hiding of the shoes and how the owners never retrieved them. Veldemeier speculated that there may have been some form of unrest in the area, causing someone to hide their shoes for a reason unknown and flee the scene. Number 5. The Lost Sublet Mine. The Guadalupe Mountains, located in West Texas and southeastern New Mexico, are said to be home to some of the richest gold mines in the world, a fact alleged by famous Apache Geronimo. Ben Sublet, an old miner who lived during the 19th century, was supposed to have found a vein of gold, one so valuable he could mine $10,000 worth of gold in a week. Unfortunately, the only evidence of this mine is a single hole in the ground, which is not much bigger than a man. Long seen as a drunk and a liar, Sublet came into his local tavern one night, throwing down a handful of nuggets and proclaiming drinks were on him. A number of unsuccessful attempts were made to pry the secret from him, and attempts were made to follow him to his secret mine, but they were met with the business end of his rifle. Even when Sublet's young son asked where the gold was located, Sublet told him to find it himself, like his father did. To this day, no one knows where the mine is located, and scientists don't believe large gold veins are even located in the Guadalupe Mountains. Number 4. The Babushka Lady. During the analysis of the film footage of the assassination of John F. Kennedy in 1963, a mysterious woman was spotted. She was wearing a brown overcoat and a scarf on her head. The scarf is the reason for her name, as she wore it in a similar style to Russian grandmothers, also called babushkas. The woman appeared to be holding something in front of her face, which is believed to be a camera. She appears in many photos of the scene. Even after the shooting, when most people had fled the area, she remained in place and continued the film. Shortly after, she is seen moving away to the east up Elm Street. The FBI publicly requested that the woman come forward and give them the footage she shot, but she never did. In 1970, a woman called Beverly Oliver came forward and claimed to be the Babushka Lady. Though her story contains many inconsistencies, she is generally regarded as a fraud. To this day, no one knows who the Babushka woman is or what she was doing there. More unusual is her refusal to come forward to offer her evidence. Number 3. Jack the Ripper. In the latter half of 1888, London was terrorized by a series of murders in the East End, largely in the Whitechapel area. The name Jack the Ripper was taken from a letter sent to a newspaper at the time by someone claiming to be the killer. The victims were typically prostitutes, who had their throats cut and bodies mutilated. In some cases, the bodies were discovered just minutes after the Ripper had left the scene. The police at the time had many suspects, but can never find sufficient evidence to convict anyone. In modern times, there are even some speculation that Prince Albert Victor was the murderer. Even with modern police methods, no further light has been shed on the murders in recent times. To this day, no one knows who the Ripper was. Number 2. Pyramids in Europe. It seems strange to think that there are pyramids in Europe, but there are quite a few of them. In Greece alone, there are 16 pyramids, of which the most well-known is the Hellenican Pyramid in Argos. First mention of the pyramid was made in the writings of ancient Greek geographer Pausanias. In description of Greece, he describes the structure as, quote, a building very much like a pyramid, and on it in relief are wrought shields of the Argive shape. He then mentions a battle that took place at the pyramid and the reconciliation that took place afterwards. A common tomb was built here for those that fell during the battle. Not much is known about the pyramid other than its estimated date of construction, which was first thought to be about 3000 BC, but was changed in the 90s to 2720 BC. If this date is correct, then the Hellenican pyramid might well be older than even the oldest Egyptian pyramid. The greatest mystery about this pyramid isn't its age, it's that no one knows who built it, or what it was built for. The biggest mystery seems to be that all excavation efforts have been abandoned, despite the significance that the structure may hold in understanding ancient history. Number 1. SS Orang Medan. In February 1948, distress calls were picked up by numerous ships near Indonesia from the Dutch freighter SS Orang Medan. The chilling message was, quote, all officers including captain are dead, lying in chart room and bridge, possibly whole crew dead, end quote. This message was followed by indecipherable Morse code, then one fairly grisly message, I die. When the first rescue vessel arrived at the scene a few hours later, they tried to hail the Orang Medan, but there was no response. A boarding party was sent to the ship, and what they found was a frightening sight that has made the Orang Medan one of the strangest and scariest ghost ship stories of all time. All the crew and officers of the Orang Medan were dead, their eyes open, faces looking toward the sun, arms outstretched, and a look of terror on their faces. Even the ship's dog was dead, found snarling at some unseen enemy. When nearing the bodies in the boiler room, the rescue crew felt a chill, though the temperature was near 110 degrees Fahrenheit. The decision was made to tow the ship back to port, but before they could get underway, smoke began rolling up from the hull. The rescue crew left the ship and barely had time to cut the tow lines before the Orang Medan exploded and sank. To this day, the exact fate of the Orang Medan and her crew remains a mystery.